I love the freedom I have when I ride my bike, being out in nature. You know, you bypass a lot when you're in a car, but when you're actually biking, you get to be one with it. And I find some of my most creative thoughts come when I'm out pedaling.
I love how you could jump on ramps and you could bike down trails.
I ride all over Essex County. Essex County is one of the most beautiful places in the world to ride because the roads are open and clear and in good shape. The weather's good and the roads are flat.
In this area, one thing about bike riding is you can do most of it biking all year round. It's, I think of it like the Netherlands of North America because it's flat.
Rather than being in my car and unaware of what's going on around me, my bike allows me to meet my neighbors. It allows me to see directly what's going on in my neighborhood and around the streets, around my community. It's just a great way to get around and do the things that I would otherwise do in my car. I like to do them on my bike.
You can do it whether you're a kid that's just 6 or 7 years old, you know, and getting out there. Or last week we were in an event and we saw someone who was 86 years old. And so this, you know, it just ranges. So no matter what your age is, there's a bike for you.
I love my bikes. I like exploring the city and the community that I live in. I like traveling with my bikes and exploring other cities on my bikes. I have different bikes for different adventures.
My bike is my car. I use it every day.
When I get on my bike and I start riding, I feel like a kid.
I think one of the most important events of someone's life is when they learn how to ride a bike, and people forget that.
It's my one go-to get anywhere machine.
I think it'd be more fun to ride with friends on the way to school. It'd be more fun, it's healthier for the environment too.
The scenery's changing, you're having fun on it, and it's much more of an experience, and you're getting that exercise without even realizing you're doing it.
Cycling is a wonderful form of transportation. It's a healthy living and active way to travel. And what we need to do is build better facilities and amenities to take on all the new cyclers.
All your senses are involved. You get to see it and feel it and smell it.
I hear the birds, I'm in the fresh air.
I love to ride my bike because it's good exercise. Yeah, usually I ride with my dad and he takes the dog on it, so it's like exercise for everybody.
The ride has such a value to their mental and physical health. It's completely worth the push, the collaboration of other parents to make sure they're all safe. It's totally worth the effort.
And great way to get to know some great people that are out there on their bikes riding.
Go outside, get on the bike, take the kids. It's a family fun time, and it sets the way for the future.
You can be a young person, your first time on your bike, and if you're not protected and you're not careful, you could hit your head, and then this could affect you that you might not ever wake up again.
It's not brain surgery. You don't want to get a concussion. You don't want to crack your skull or anything like that. Your brain's the most important part of your body.
When you're in a car, you're protected by the car itself. On a bicycle, you have none of that protection around you. A helmet is just an added feature to help protect you.
And really what I found after I was fitted for a helmet was that it is comfortable. As long as it's fitted to you, you don't even really notice it after a while.
Two, V1. V1.
I was riding with a really experienced rider. There's no reason that she should have any issues, and we had to stop abruptly, and she ended up clipping the tire of somebody behind her. She fell down, not even hard, just a light fall. She was wearing a helmet and she had a concussion. She ended up being taken away in an ambulance. She didn't remember being there or why she was there or who we were, and that really hit home for me. And I thought, even an experienced rider can hurt themselves like that, then how is it that I wouldn't hurt myself just riding from here down the street? Anything can happen.
Sometimes you might be at school playing with your friends and you might get pushed around the playground and you don't want to get in trouble. Then you're injured and maybe you feel like you're going to be sick. Because when you hit your head, you can feel like you're going to be sick, and you have a headache, and you feel dizzy, and you feel confused. And so it's really important that if you hurt yourself and hit your head, that you tell your teacher or a parent so that you can get the help you need.
I've had many crashes actually. Thankfully I had my helmet on. I have dents to prove it in my helmet. And by doing that, I ended up with whiplash, but I ended up with no fracture on my skull. I ended up with, my head was safe. So I can't stress enough the importance of wearing a helmet, even if you're just going out on the road. You hit a curb, you could be down. There's so many things. You swerve to avoid something. You also have vehicles around you. A helmet can save your life.
When I'm riding, I ride like the Highway Traffic Act says I should ride, and that my bike is a vehicle. This is a great opportunity for kids that are just getting into the freedom of riding a bicycle, that this is your chance to practice what you're going to do when you're in a car.
And remember, you're only on a 25-pound vehicle, and you just got to be wary, and make sure you do a shoulder check, when you're changing lanes. Make sure that you're signaling properly so you're not doing anything too erratic, so that a motorist knows what you're doing. Most motorists are very respectful, as long as you're being respectful too. And always try to be on the right-hand side as close as possible, but you don't want to be so close that your pedal actually strikes a curb.
So everything you do on your bike is what you're going to do in the future in your car. And if you get those skills down early, driving a car is going to be so much easier because you're already going to know the rules of the road.
You shouldn't be riding on the sidewalk. Sidewalks are for pedestrians, but in addition to that, the driver has that less of a window to actually spot you right away. So you want to stay on the road so that there's a big enough angle so that they'll see you at their peripherals. There's more time for them to spot you. It's less likely that you're going to get smacked coming around like a bush or something that's obstructing the view.
We don't expect children to learn how to ride on the East Hero Expressway. So that's about the only time you're ever going to be riding on a sidewalk, when you're first learning how to ride a bicycle. And that's with the supervision and care of your parents and guardians to make sure that you're learning how to do it right. But once you've learned how to ride that bike and now you've got that independence, it's important now that you make the transition onto the road and you follow the rules as they're set out in the Highway Traffic Act. And this is also your chance to start moving toward being that big person that gets to drive a motor vehicle someday.
I know there's some misconceptions about what direction to ride your bike on the road. You are a vehicle, so the same direction that you would travel in your car, you would use on your bicycle.
And I always try and take routes that I know that there's not going to be a lot of cars on.
I'm noticing a lot more bikes on the road, so to me this gives the motorists more of an awareness that bikes are out there.
It's a little nerve-wracking riding on the roads and stuff like that, but you really can't ride on the sidewalks. It's kind of illegal. You just got to know that the people will give you your space.
If you're ever riding at night, put a light on your bike so people can see you and you don't get hit by a car.
You should really be stopping at stop signs just like a vehicle, because you have the same dangers that a vehicle does. And you should be stopping at lights and respecting what other people have to do as well on the road, because you're sharing the road with that car.
Well, you should always obviously wear a helmet, because if you fall, you're gonna hit your head and you won't get hurt. Or wear closed-toe shoes.
To get your practice up and to try to get your confidence up, try some of the trails throughout Windsor and Essex County, and that can build up your skill. Because it's more important that when you're paying attention on the road to watch out for different things, right? Because when you're in a car all the time, you don't think about those things.
I have been doing this my whole entire life. I have all the proper equipment. I have my helmet on, I have my shin pads, even though you really can't see them, they're underneath my pants. My bike has been built up by me. I used to be a bike mechanic. I know all the proper parts to have for doing all these big tricks. So just be safe when you go out there and try it for yourself.
Just watch out for people walking their dog without a leash. They tend to get in the way. Have a bell on your bike. May not look the best, but it tells people you're coming.
You should be dressed brightly and be very visible to a motorist, because a motorist is not necessarily looking for a cyclist, they're looking for other cars. So you want to give them the best opportunity to see you.
Every time you're going to go ride your bike, you're going to do an ABC quick check. It's real simple, it's real fast, it's just to make sure your bike's in good shape before you hop on and ride. First, you're gonna do A, which is air. So you're gonna check the front and back air pressure by giving me a little squeeze. If there's not enough air, you're gonna get a bike pump and pump them up. You don't wanna catch a flat during your ride. Next up, B. That's for brakes and bars. Brakes, you just wanna grab the brakes, give them a little squeeze, make sure it's working properly. I mean, that back wheel's going nowhere. Next up, B for bars. You wanna make sure your bar's on tight. If it's wiggling or separating from the front of the wheel direction, then you know that's going to be a bad problem if you ride. If you suddenly get, hit a bump and your bars go one way and your wheels go other way, you're going to go the third way. C is for chain. You're going to make sure your chain is clean and well oiled. If it has dirt, debris, you want to pick that out, scrub it out. There's specialized bike tools for that, but hey, you could use a piece of cloth or a toothbrush or something. Also make sure there's oil on it. Lastly, quick release. That's only if you have a quick release tire. This one doesn't, so we don't have to worry about it, but many bikes actually have a quick release for the front and rear tire. In addition to those important things I mentioned before, there's one other thing I really like to take on my rides. It's my miniature bicycle repair kit. It has everything I need to fix a flat or patch a tire while I'm on the road. So I went to school in Toronto and there's a lot of bike theft in that city, so I learned how to lock up my bike properly. Pretty much you take off the front tire and you lock it to the back and your frame all together to the bike rack. What that does is if a thief does try and steal your bike, he has to not only break the lock, but he also has to take your tire and put it back on before he can ride off with it. It makes an extra deterrent for any bike thieves who want to take your ride. On top of that, I like to use a nice solid U-lock. It's a lot more durable than a chain or any sort of wire lock. They're typically more difficult to break, and it's just that extra bit of insurance.